Chapter 1. The Forbidden Temptation. My life had always been calm, predictable. I had a wonderful husband, Alex, handsome, reliable, and fiercely loyal. We had been married for 5 years, and things had settled into a comfortable routine. But over time the spark seemed to fade. The passion, the excitement, the unpredictable moments, everything just felt monotonous. And that's when I met him. I wasn't looking for trouble. Swear. I didn't mean to cross the line, but he appeared in my life like a bolt of lightning, and I couldn't ignore the attraction. Jason was everything Alex wasn't. He was spontaneous, wild, and reckless. He made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. At first, it was just small moments, flirty comments, lingering glances, a brush of his hand against mine. But it was enough to set the wheels in motion. One late afternoon, when Alex was away on business, Jason invited me out for drinks. I told myself it would be harmless, just a fun night of talking and laughter. But as the hours passed, the alcohol flowed, and the air between us grew thicker. It was undeniable. The chemistry between us was explosive. Every word he spoke felt like it was pulling me closer. The way he looked at me, as if I were the only woman in the world, made my heart race. My mind screamed at me to stop, to remember the vows I had made, to remember the life I had with Alex. But in that moment, all I could think about was Jason. And then it happened. Kissed. It was slow at first, like a gentle wave washing over me, but then it grew more urgent. His lips were soft, demanding, and I couldn't pull away. The guilt vanished in an instant, replaced by a burning desire. One thing led to another, and by the time the night ended, I was in his bed, giving in to everything I had been denying myself. For a moment, I felt liberated, like I was finally free of the chains that had bound me to the life I had built with Alex. But as dawn approached, the reality of what I had done hit me like a ton of bricks. What the hell was I thinking? How could I have been so reckless? The weight of my actions settled in, and I knew I had made a choice that would change everything. Chapter 2. The Guilt and the Lies continued. The more I saw Jason, the more I realized how deep into this I had fallen. Each time we met, the connection grew stronger, more intense. And with every stolen moment, every whispered promise, the guilt I felt over betraying Alex started to fade, replaced by something much darker, a craving for more. It was as if I couldn't control myself anymore. Jason knew how to push my buttons, how to make me feel desired in a way that Alex no longer did. It was never about love. It wasn't even about a real emotional connection. Jason was simply an escape from the life I had built, the one that had become so routine, so predictable. I started lying to Alex more frequently. The little things at first, saying I was staying late at work, meeting friends for dinner when I was actually with Jason. I'd convinced myself it was harmless, that I could handle both worlds. But each lie made the distance between Alex and me grow wider. Every night when I came home to Alex, I would bury the truth deeper inside. I'd smile, kiss him on the cheek, and pretend nothing was wrong. But it felt like I was wearing a mask that grew heavier by the day. One evening, Alex seemed to sense something was off. He looked at me across the dinner table, his brow furrowed. "Lena, is everything okay? You've been distant lately." Froze my fork midair. My heart skipped a beat. Was it possible that he knew? Was I that obvious? I put the fork down, swallowing the lump in my throat. "Everything's fine," I said quickly, forcing a smile. "I've just been busy with work, that's all." Alex didn't look convinced, but he didn't press the issue. He nodded and went back to eating, but I could feel the weight of his unspoken concern. That night I went to bed early. My mind raced, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Alex was starting to catch on. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jason's face. His eyes, his smile, the way he touched me. I hated that I was torn between the man who had given me everything and the man who had set my body and soul on fire. But what hurt more was that deep down I didn't know if I wanted to stop. I didn't know if I could stop. The more I gave in to Jason, the more I wanted it. The more I wanted him. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Alex did something unexpected. He started staying home more. He started asking questions. At first, it felt like a relief, like he was finally noticing me again, finally paying attention. But then, the questions grew more specific. Lena, you've been so tired lately. Are you sleeping okay? You've been on your phone a lot more. Who are you texting? I tried to brush him off, but the unease in his eyes made it harder. The mask was slipping. I couldn't keep living this double life. Something had to give. Chapter 3. The Unraveling. The pressure was building and I could feel it. The walls I had carefully constructed to separate my two worlds were starting to crack, and soon enough, everything would come crashing down. The lies were piling up, and each one made me more anxious, more paranoid. Every time I was with Alex, my heart raced in fear of being caught. Every time I was with Jason, a strange sense of guilt gnawed at me, reminding me that I was betraying someone who trusted me. The worst part was that I was starting to lose myself in the chaos. The woman I used to be, the loyal wife, the dependable partner, was slipping away. And in her place, someone I didn't recognize was emerging. Someone reckless. Someone desperate for the thrill of deceit. One afternoon, as I sat at home scrolling through my phone, I saw a message from Jason. It was simple, but the words hit me hard. I miss you. We need to meet up tonight. Can't stay away any longer. For a brief moment I hesitated. A part of me wanted to stop. I didn't want to ruin everything, not for something that wasn't even real. But then the hunger for it, the excitement, the passion, overpowered my better judgment. I texted back. I'll meet you after dinner. As the day passed, I grew more and more anxious. Alex was acting even stranger than usual. He was home early, talking to me like he used to before everything went wrong. It felt like he was trying to patch the cracks in our relationship, trying to get back what we once had. But I wasn't the same anymore. After a quick dinner, I excused myself, claiming I had work to catch up on. I told Alex I'd be in the office for a while, and he seemed to accept it without suspicion. As I grabbed my purse, my stomach twisted. I wasn't just going to meet Jason. I was about to cross a line I wasn't sure I could come back from. The drive to the rendezvous point felt like an eternity. I wasn't just going to see Jason. I was going to keep feeding this dangerous flame that had taken over my life. I knew it. But part of me didn't care. When I arrived, Jason was already waiting. He greeted me with that smoldering smile, the one that always made my heart flutter. But this time something was different. There was an intensity in his eyes that unsettled me. Lena, I've been thinking, he started. His voice unusually serious. We can't keep doing this. Too dangerous. You're going to lose him. His words stung, but I wasn't sure if it was because of the truth in them or the sudden concern I saw in his face. What do you mean? You're the one who's been asking for this, Jason. It's not just me. He sighed, rubbing his temple as if conflicted. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But I can't keep hiding this from him. Froze. What do you mean, hiding this from him? Jason's face fell, and suddenly, all the chemistry, all the passion, felt like a distant memory. Lena, I can't do this anymore. Alex knows. My heart stopped. What? I gasped, my breath catching in my throat. How? I don't know how much he knows, but he's been suspicious for weeks, Jason confessed. I couldn't lie to him anymore. He knows we've been seeing each other. A sick feeling spread through my stomach. What did you tell him? What did you say? I told him everything, Jason said, his voice heavy. He's angry. He's hurt. But he's also calm. It's like he's been waiting for this moment. He wants to confront you. He wants to hear it from you. I felt the ground slip out from under me. My mind raced, heart pounding in my chest. My entire world was falling apart in front of me. You need to go home, Lena, Jason said, his voice softer now. You need to face him. I didn't know what to say. How could I go home and face Alex? How could I look him in the eye after everything I had done? But as I drove back home, The enormity of what was happening hit me like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just a moment of weakness anymore. This was the end of everything. Chapter 4. The Confrontation. When I arrived home, the house was eerily quiet. It was just after midnight, and the only light in the living room came from the faint glow of the television. Alex was sitting on the couch, his gaze fixed on the screen, though he wasn't really watching it. He wasn't asleep, but he wasn't fully awake either. My heart pounded in my chest as I stood there, unsure of what to say. For a moment, it felt like the walls were closing in on me. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears, drowning out the rational thoughts that tried to push through the panic. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Alex, we need to talk," I said, my voice shaking despite my best efforts to keep it steady. He turned to look at me, his eyes empty. There was something in them, something dark, a mixture of hurt and anger, but also resignation. As if he had already accepted the truth before I'd even opened my mouth. "Sit down," he said quietly. "We need to talk." I froze, my throat tightening. I didn't want to sit. I didn't want to face him. But I had no choice. Slowly, I lowered myself onto the couch beside him, the space between us feeling vast, like an ocean I could never cross. "I know," he said softly. His words hit me like a slap. I stared at him, trying to process the weight of what he had just said. "You know," I whispered. "How much do you know?" He chuckled darkly, shaking his head. "I don't know everything, but I know enough. I know you've been seeing him. Jason." I felt my breath catch in my throat. My eyes widened, and I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. How long had he known? Had I been that obvious? Had my guilt seeped through every crack in our life together? "How long, Lena?" Alex asked, his voice almost breaking. "How long have you been lying to me?" I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes, but I couldn't let them fall. I couldn't break down now, not when I had no idea where this conversation was going to end. "I never meant for it to happen," I said, the words sounding hollow, even to my own ears. It just happened. And I didn't know how to stop. "I'm sorry." Alex's expression didn't change. His eyes stayed cold, distant, like he was looking at a stranger. "I'm not asking for your apology, Lena," he said. "I'm asking for the truth." My chest tightened. I don't know what else to say. I made a mistake. Huge one. And I regret it, but I don't know how to fix it. He was silent for a long moment, staring at me as if weighing my words, trying to determine if I was being honest, if there was any sincerity in my voice. But the truth was, I didn't know how to fix it either. I didn't know how to undo the damage I had caused. "Do you love him?" Alex asked suddenly, his voice flat. I didn't expect that question. It hit me like a punch to the stomach. I hesitated, the answer coming too quickly. No. It was the truth. I didn't love Jason. I had been infatuated, desperate for something. Anything that would make me feel alive again. But love. Well, I still loved Alex. I had just lost myself for a moment, and in doing so, I had shattered everything we had. Alex looked at me with such a mixture of sadness and disbelief that it made my stomach churn. "Then why, Lena? Why did you do it?" I felt like I was suffocating. The air in the room grew thick, pressing down on me. I had no excuse. Nothing I could say would make it better. Nothing could take back the fact that I had betrayed him. I had betrayed the man I promised to spend my life with. "I don't have a good reason," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "I was selfish. I didn't think about what I was doing. I just wanted to feel something. I wasn't thinking about you or the consequences." Alex's eyes darkened, and I could see the hurt there. The deep, gnawing hurt that cut deeper than anything physical. "You don't think about the consequences. You don't think about us. What do you expect me to do with that, Lena? How am I supposed to trust you again?" The truth was, I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to make it right. And I was terrified that whatever was left of our marriage, whatever love he might have had for me, was already gone. He stood up, his expression unreadable. I don't know what to do anymore. I can't pretend this didn't happen. And I don't think I can forgive you. The words hit me harder than I expected. He was right. He couldn't just forget. He couldn't just move on like I had hoped. Alex, please, I begged, my voice breaking. Please don't leave me. But he didn't say anything. He just walked away, his footsteps heavy on the floor, each step echoing like the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. Chapter 5, The Breaking Point. The next few days felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every minute felt like an eternity, and yet I wasn't moving forward. I was stuck in this inescapable limbo, caught between guilt and desperation. I could still hear Alex's words echoing in my mind. I can't forgive you. It was like a constant, crushing weight on my chest. And worse, the silence between us was deafening. For the first time in years, I couldn't find the words to fix things. Every time I tried to approach him, he shut me down. He would look at me, but it wasn't with love or concern. It was with something darker. Coldness. A disappointment so deep I felt it in my bones. I didn't blame him. Not really. I knew I had destroyed everything. But I wasn't ready to give up yet. I couldn't be. I loved him. I had to try harder, even if that meant swallowing my pride and facing whatever punishment came my way. But the more I tried, the more distant he became. On the fourth day after the confrontation, I woke up to an empty bed. Alex had gone, leaving only a note on the pillow. I unfolded it, heart hammering in my chest. I'm staying with a friend. I need time. I don't know what I want anymore. Please respect that. I stared at the note, my hands shaking. My chest felt hollow. That word felt like a knife. Time for what? Time to heal. Time to leave. I crumpled the paper in my hand and tossed it aside, the anger bubbling up from deep within. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I couldn't let him go. That night Jason called. It wasn't a surprise, but it felt like it came at the worst possible moment. His voice was casual at first, like nothing had happened. But there was something in the way he spoke that made my skin crawl. I'm glad you're still breathing, he said. How's the husband? I stiffened. I don't know, Jason. I don't know what's happening anymore. He's staying somewhere else. He's shut me out. Jason chuckled, but it was empty. He's not stupid. He knows what you've been doing. What we've been doing. The words stung, but it wasn't what I needed to hear. It wasn't what I wanted. I need you to stop, Jason. To stop. You've already messed up my life. Can't you see that? There was a brief silence on the other end, and then Jason sighed. Lena, I didn't mean to hurt you. But you're the one who got yourself into this. You're the one who's been playing both sides. I felt a wave of disgust wash over me. I wasn't playing anyone, I shot back, my voice trembling with frustration. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I never wanted this. Jason laughed again, but it was colder this time. What do you think this is, Lena? A fairy tale. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. I slammed the phone down, my heart racing. Jason's words lingered in my mind, gnawing at me like a hunger I couldn't escape. I wasn't innocent. I had made choices. I had betrayed Alex. But I didn't deserve this. Didn't deserve to be used and discarded like some pawn in Jason's game. The next morning I did something I never thought I would. I drove to Alex's workplace. I had no plan, no strategy. I just had to see him. Talk to him. To make him understand. When I arrived, I saw him talking to someone outside the office, laughing about something. It was a normal moment, and it hit me like a punch in the gut. He wasn't as broken as I thought. Maybe it wasn't over for him. I stepped out of the car, but before I could approach, Alex turned around. His eyes locked onto mine, and in that brief moment, I saw something I wasn't prepared for, anger. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. This wasn't the man I had married. This wasn't the man who used to smile at me. His eyes soft and full of love. This was someone else. Someone who couldn't forgive me. He didn't say anything at first. He just stood there, his arms crossed over his chest, staring at me as if I were a stranger. "Alex," I said, my voice cracking. "Please, can we talk?" His gaze hardened. "What is there to talk about, Lena? You made your choice." I felt like the ground beneath me had cracked open. "I didn't mean for this to happen. Love you. I'm sorry." He shook his head. "Sorry doesn't cut it. You hurt me. You lied to me. And the worst part, you didn't even have the decency to be honest." I wanted to beg him to fall at his feet and plead for his forgiveness. But I knew I had no right to ask for that. Not anymore. Not after everything I had done. Just leave me alone," he said, turning away and walking back toward the building. "I need space. I need to think. But right now I need you to go." And that was it. That was the last time I saw him. Chapter 6. The bitter truth. Days turned into weeks, and each day felt heavier than the last. The space between Alex and me had grown into an unbridgeable chasm. The phone calls I had once hoped for never came. He didn't answer my texts, and every time I saw him, he turned away, as though I didn't exist. But the silence was suffocating. I had to know where we stood. I couldn't let things just end like this, not without at least trying to make things right. It was a Thursday when I decided to show up at his apartment. I had no plan, no script to follow. I just had to talk to him one last time. Maybe it was hopeless, but I couldn't let go without hearing the final truth from his lips. As I knocked on the door, my heart hammered in my chest. The moment I had been dreading was finally here. Would he throw me out? Would he even open the door? It felt like an eternity before the door finally creaked open. And there he was. Alex. He looked different, harder, colder. The man I knew was still there, but buried beneath layers of pain, hurt, and betrayal. "What do you want, Lena?" His voice was quiet, but there was an edge to it. He didn't step aside to let me in. He didn't invite me in. "I just need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. "Please. I need you to understand. I made a huge mistake, and I've been paying for it ever since. I need to fix this." He didn't move. He didn't even blink. The air between us was thick with tension, and for a moment, I wondered if he would shut me out completely. "I don't think you can fix this," he said finally. His words so soft they were almost inaudible, but they hit me like a physical blow. "You've crossed a line, Lena. And once that line is crossed, it's impossible to go back." "I know I've hurt you," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "But please, I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen." Alex was silent for a long time. I could see the conflict in his eyes, the struggle between the man who still loved me and the one who had been betrayed. He closed his eyes briefly, and when he opened them again, there was a coldness that made my stomach turn. "I don't want your apology," he said, his tone flat. "I want my life back. I want the trust we had. I want the person I thought you were. For now, I'm not sure I can ever have that again." I could feel my world crumbling around me. I had spent so much time trying to hold on to this marriage, trying to salvage what little I could, but it was slipping away from me. Alex had already made his decision, and there was nothing I could say that would change it. "You think I don't know that?" said my voice breaking. "You think I haven't been dying every single day since I made that mistake? I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to live with what I've done to you." His expression softened just slightly, but there was still so much distance between us. "I don't know if you ever will. But I do know one thing, Lena. I can't keep living like this. And I'm done trying to fix something that's broken beyond repair." His words were like a final nail in the coffin of our marriage. I wanted to scream, to fight for him, but deep down I knew he was right. It was over. There was nothing left to fix. "You'll always have a place in my heart," Alex said quietly, almost as if he were speaking to himself more than to me. "But this thing we had, it's over. I can't go back to who we were. And you need to understand that." I nodded, even though it felt like my world was falling apart. "I understand," I whispered, my voice cracking. With one last lingering glance, Alex stepped back, closing the door between us. And just like that, it was over. The following days were a blur. I didn't know where to go or who to turn to. I couldn't talk to Jason, not anymore. Not after everything he had said about Alex. I felt like I had no one. The loneliness was overwhelming, and I started to question whether I even knew who I was anymore. And then 2 weeks later I got a text. It was from Alex. "I've been thinking. I can't promise anything, but maybe we can talk. One last time. Let me know if you're open to it." My heart leapt into my throat. Was this a sign? Was there hope? But when I finally met him, standing in that coffee shop, the one we used to visit when things were still good, I saw the same person I had seen before. The man who had loved me. The man who now stood before me as someone else. Someone broken, someone who couldn't forget. "I don't know if we can ever go back to what we were," he said slowly. "But I'm willing to talk. Just don't expect things to be the same. They never will be." For the first time in weeks, I felt like a small spark of hope flickered inside me. Maybe it wasn't over. Maybe, just maybe, we could still find a way back. Chapter 7. A Fragile Hope. The weeks that followed Alex's message felt like a new kind of torment. For so long I had been living in the limbo of regret and uncertainty, but now, with that tiny spark of hope, everything felt like a balancing act. I was standing on the edge, desperately trying not to fall into the abyss of despair, while holding on to the fragile thread of possibility Alex had given me. We met at the same coffee shop again, the one that used to be our sanctuary, but now it felt unfamiliar. The atmosphere that had once been warm and filled with laughter was now cold, weighed down by the tension between us. He was already sitting at our usual table, his back turned to me. I paused at the door, feeling the familiar ache in my chest, the same ache that had haunted me since the day I betrayed him. I took a deep breath and walked toward him. My hands were shaking, and I could barely contain the nervous energy coursing through me. "Alex," I said quietly as I approached. He turned around slowly, his face impassive. It was like he had mastered the art of keeping his emotions hidden, and I hated that. I wanted to see the man I once knew, the one who loved me without question. But all I saw now was someone who had been broken by my actions. "Lena," he replied, his voice distant, as if he were speaking to a stranger. "I wasn't sure if you'd show up." "I almost didn't," I admitted, my throat tight. "But I need this. I need to try. I can't let us end like this, not when there's still a chance." He didn't respond at first. He just looked at me, his eyes searching mine for something. Maybe for sincerity, maybe for a trace of the person I used to be. But all I saw was the emptiness of someone who had been let down too many times. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Lena," he said. His voice almost a whisper, but the weight of his words was crushing. "I don't know if I can go back to trusting you. What you did, it shattered me." I felt my chest tighten at his words, and I looked away, ashamed. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away, or even at all," I said softly, trying to keep my composure. "But I need you to know that I am truly sorry. I'm not asking for you to forget what happened. I'm asking for a chance to prove to you that I'm still the person you fell in love with." Alex's eyes softened for a moment, just a flicker of something that reminded me of the man who had stood by me all those years. But then it was gone, replaced by the same coldness I had seen so many times before. "Lena," he began, his voice cracking slightly, "I loved you with everything I had. But I can't keep hurting like this. I don't know how to move past it. I don't know if I even want to try anymore." I could feel my heart breaking with each word, but I forced myself to stay focused. This was my last shot. If I didn't make him see that I was still worth fighting for, I would lose him forever. "I don't want to lose you," I whispered. "I'll do anything, Alex. Anything to make it right. Just give me one more chance." There was a long silence between us, the weight of everything hanging in the air like an unspoken truth. I waited, hoping for some sign, some indication that he still cared. But he didn't say anything. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, his eyes never leaving mine. "You've asked for a lot of chances already," he said, his voice barely audible. "I don't know if I can keep giving you them." Felt like a punch to the gut. The last remnants of hope I had clung to began to slip away. "I understand," I said quietly, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't deserve another chance. I know that." Alex was silent for a long moment, staring at me as if he were seeing me for the first time. He took a deep breath and finally spoke again, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "I don't know what the future holds for us, Lena," he said slowly. "But I can't keep living in the past. We need to move forward, and I need to figure out if that means doing it with you or without you." My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. "Without you." The words echoed in my mind, repeating over and over again, and I felt like I was falling into a bottomless pit. "I don't want to lose you," I repeated, the desperation evident in my voice. Alex looked at me one last time, his expression unreadable, and then stood up. "I don't know if I can keep trying, Lena. I need time. Time to think." I stood up too, feeling the last remnants of my world slipping away. I didn't know what he meant by time, but I knew it wasn't good. He didn't look at me again as he turned to walk away, his back to me as he disappeared out the door. And just like that, the door between us was closed once again. I stood there, motionless, the weight of his absence crushing me. Chapter 8. The longest wait. The days that followed felt like a torturous blur. I replayed everything over and over in my mind, every word Alex had said, every look he had given me. There was no clarity, just confusion and longing. I waited for his message, his call, anything that would tell me what I was supposed to do next. But it never came. The pain was almost physical. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I spent hours staring out the window, hoping for some sign that things could be fixed, but all I got was silence. That suffocating, unbearable silence that filled the space between us. It had been 3 days since our meeting at the coffee shop. I hadn't heard from him since. I knew he was going through his own pain, but it didn't make the waiting any easier. It felt like I was suspended in time, hanging by a thread, unsure whether I was going to be pulled up or dropped into the abyss. One afternoon I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone, hesitating for a moment before finally typing out a message to Alex. "I understand if you need more time, but I just want you to know that I'm here, waiting. I'm not going anywhere. I love you." I stared at the screen, willing him to respond, to give me something, anything. But after what felt like an eternity, I put the phone down in frustration. I had no right to force him into a decision. I knew that. But my heart wouldn't listen. It ached for him. It ached for us. Later that night I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling when my phone buzzed. I almost didn't want to look at it, afraid it was just another reminder of how hopeless everything had become. But then I saw the name. Alex. My pulse quickened as I opened the message, my hands trembling. "We need to talk." That was all it said. My heart skipped a beat. I didn't know if I was relieved or terrified. Was this the moment of reckoning? Was he finally ready to confront everything we'd been through? Or was this the final blow, the moment where he walked away for good? I didn't wait. I immediately called him. The phone rang for what felt like an eternity before he answered. "Lena." His voice was quiet, strained. "We need to meet again. There's something I need to say. Alex, please. Please don't shut me out. I can't go through this anymore. I stopped myself, my throat tight with emotion. Please, just tell me what's going on." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. For a moment, I thought he was going to hang up, but then he spoke again, his voice steady but distant. "I'll meet you tomorrow," he said. "At the park. Same time as last week." I nodded even though he couldn't see me. "Okay. I'll be there." The next day, I stood in the park, the trees casting long shadows as the sun began to set. The air felt heavy, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. My heart was pounding in my chest. I hadn't been this anxious in a long time. What was Alex going to say? When I saw him walking toward me, I felt a mix of relief and dread. He was wearing his usual jeans and jacket, his hair slightly tousled, but there was something different about him, something colder, more distant. He stopped in front of me and looked down at the ground, not meeting my eyes. It was the first time I had seen him so closed off. "Alex," I whispered, afraid of breaking the fragile silence that hung between us. He finally looked up at me, but there was no warmth in his eyes. No love, just emptiness. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he said slowly, his voice calm but detached. "And I've realized something." My heart skipped a beat. "What?" "I've realized that I can't keep living like this," he continued, his voice becoming more steady with each word. "I can't keep waiting for you to come back to me, for things to go back to how they were. They never will be." I swallowed hard, trying to keep the tears at bay. "What are you saying, Alex?" "I'm saying that I've made my decision," he replied, his eyes never leaving mine. "I can't keep doing this. I can't keep hoping for a future with you when all I have is the past and the pain you caused me." I felt the ground beneath me shift, the world tilting as I realized what he was saying. "No, Alex, please don't say that. We can work through this. We can fix this. Love you. I need you." He shook his head, his expression hardening. "I loved you too. But love isn't enough when trust is shattered. You broke me, Lena. And I don't know if I can ever forgive you." I felt like I was drowning. The weight of his words crushed me. This was the moment I had been fearing, the moment when he finally admitted it. "It's over. You're making a huge mistake," I said desperately, my voice barely audible. "Please don't do this. I'm willing to do anything." But Alex's expression remained unchanging. "It's not a mistake. It's the only way for me to move on. I can't live in the past anymore. I can't keep holding on to something that's gone." The pain was unbearable. I wanted to scream, to beg him to stay, but the look in his eyes told me everything I needed to know. The decision was made. And so, standing there in the fading light of the park, I realized that Alex was really walking away. For good. Chapter 9: The Aftermath. The days that followed felt like an endless haze of disbelief. It was as if the world had stopped moving, and I was stuck in this never-ending loop of emptiness. Alex's words haunted me. The finality of them, the way he had shut me out completely, was the worst kind of heartbreak. It wasn't just the end of our relationship. It was the death of the future I had imagined with him. I spent days in a kind of numbness. I couldn't focus on anything. Every time I tried to do something as simple as getting out of bed or going for a walk, the thought of Alex would creep in, and the weight of his absence would pull me under. I didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't want to. I couldn't bring myself to explain what had happened. Who could I explain it to? The betrayal. The regret. How could I make anyone understand that it was a mistake, that I was a different person now, someone who had learned the hardest lesson of her life? It was Jason who called me first. He had been trying to reach me for days, but I hadn't answered any of his messages or calls. When I saw his name on the screen, I almost didn't pick up. I had nothing to say to him. Not after everything he'd told me about Alex. Not after the part he played in encouraging me to cheat. But I needed someone, anyone to talk to. So I answered, "Lena, where have you been?" Jason's voice was full of concern, but I could hear the slight edge of impatience in his tone. "I've been worried about you." "I'm fine," I said flatly, trying to sound more composed than I felt. "Lena, stop lying to me. I know you're not fine. Come on, let's meet. We can talk about what happened. You need to talk about this." I closed my eyes, my head spinning. The last thing I wanted was to meet Jason. The last thing I needed was his presence. He had played a part in this mess. He had been the one who had convinced me that what I was doing with him was okay, that it wasn't a betrayal. "I don't know if I can," I whispered. "I don't know if I can talk to you about this." There was silence on the other end of the line before Jason spoke again. "Lena, I know I fucked up. But you're not alone in this. You've got me. We can get through this together. Just, please don't shut me out. I could hear the desperation in his voice, but it only made me feel worse. The whole situation felt like a tangled mess of lies and bad choices. I didn't know who I could trust anymore. Certainly not Jason, who had used me when I was at my weakest. Certainly not myself. I'll meet you, I said, finally giving in, though my stomach churned at the thought. Tomorrow. But I don't know what I want from you anymore. The next day, I found myself sitting across from Jason at a quiet cafe. The smell of coffee and fresh pastries filled the air, but I couldn't taste anything. It was like I was outside of my body, watching everything happen but unable to participate in it. Jason's eyes were fixed on me, and for the first time since we'd begun this messy affair, I saw the guilt written all over his face. He knew what he had done. He knew how he had pushed me into a decision I couldn't take back. I'm sorry, Lena, he said quietly. I should have never told you those things about Alex. I should have never pushed you. I just wanted you to be happy. I couldn't look at him. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want his apologies or excuses. You're the reason I did what I did, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. You told me it was okay. You made me think it wasn't a big deal. And now look at what's happened. I've lost everything. Alex, the life I wanted. It's all gone. Jason reached across the table, his hand hovering over mine, but I pulled back, not wanting any more comfort from him. Not after everything. Lena, I didn't mean for it to go this far, Jason said. His voice soft but filled with regret. I didn't want you to lose him. I didn't want to hurt anyone. But I never thought you would actually. He trailed off, and I could see the pain in his eyes. He knew he had crossed a line, but it didn't make me feel any better. It didn't erase the damage. I've made a mess of everything, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know how to fix this. Jason looked at me with a mix of pity and sadness, but it only made me feel worse. I didn't want pity. I didn't want sympathy. I wanted Alex. I wanted things to go back to how they were before all of this. I can't fix this, Lena, Jason said quietly, his voice cracking. I can't be the one to fix your relationship with Alex. Only you and he can do that. But if you want me to stay, if you need me, I'm here for you. I always will be. I stared at him for a long moment. I knew he cared for me in his own way, but it didn't change the fact that I had made the wrong choice. And the damage couldn't be undone. I don't know what I want anymore, I admitted. I don't know if I can keep living with this regret. Maybe I don't deserve to fix things with Alex. Maybe I don't deserve anything. Jason's face hardened at my words, and he leaned back in his chair. Don't say that. Don't sell yourself short, Lena. You made a mistake, but you're still worth fighting for. I wasn't sure if I believed him. I wasn't sure about anything anymore. But as I sat there, surrounded by the quiet hum of the cafe, I knew one thing for certain. I had to find a way to move forward. Whether Alex and I could ever find our way back to each other or not, I had to find a way to live with the consequences of my actions. Chapter 10. A new beginning. The days following my meeting with Jason were a blur. I spent so much time thinking, reflecting on what had gone wrong, that it felt like I was suffocating in my own thoughts. The pain of losing Alex was still fresh, but there was something else brewing within me, something I hadn't allowed myself to confront until now. The realization that I had to let go. Letting go didn't mean forgetting or erasing the past. It meant accepting the truth. That I had broken something beautiful, something irreplaceable. That Alex wasn't the only one who had been hurt. I had been lying to myself about who I was and what I wanted. And the only way to heal was to stop hiding from the consequences of my actions. I began to take steps, small ones, toward repairing myself. I started seeing a therapist, someone who could help me understand the root of my mistakes. It wasn't easy. It wasn't comfortable. But each session, each day I spent confronting my demons, I began to feel a slight shift inside of me. I knew I couldn't change the past, but I could change how I moved forward. 3 weeks passed before I saw Alex again. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I had decided to go for a walk through the park. The weather was warm, the kind of spring day that made you feel hopeful, as if the world was beginning to come back to life. The birds were singing, the flowers blooming. I had come to the park to clear my mind, to get away from the weight of everything, but when I turned the corner, I saw him. He was sitting on a bench under the large oak tree, just as we had so many times before. His back was to me, and for a moment I considered turning around, leaving, and pretending I hadn't seen him. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the pull of unresolved feelings. Maybe it was the hope, however faint, that we could talk. I approached slowly, my heart racing in my chest. When he heard my footsteps, he turned around, his face expressionless. "Alex," I said softly, my voice barely above a whisper. He stood up as I got closer, and for a moment neither of us spoke. I searched his eyes, hoping to see a glimmer of the man I used to know, but there was only a guarded look, a mask that he wore to protect himself. "Lena," he said quietly, "I didn't think I'd see you again." "I didn't think I'd see you either," I admitted, my heart aching with every word. "But I need to talk to you. I need you to know how sorry I am. I know that doesn't change anything, but I need to say it. I messed up, Alex. I destroyed something beautiful, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I'll carry this guilt for the rest of my life." There was a long silence as Alex stared at me, his face unreadable. I couldn't tell what he was thinking. Maybe he was still angry. Maybe he was just as lost as I was. "I don't know what you expect from me, Lena," he said finally, his voice low but steady. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, but I know that this weight we're carrying isn't healthy for either of us." I felt a flicker of hope, a tiny spark. "What are you saying?" He looked at me, his eyes softening just slightly. "I'm saying that I can't keep living in the past. I can't keep holding on to the anger. But I also can't pretend that everything is okay. Maybe one day we can try again. But not now. Not yet." My chest tightened with emotion. "I'll wait, Alex. I'll wait as long as it takes. I'm not giving up on us. I don't deserve another chance, but I'll wait, even if it takes a lifetime." Alex exhaled slowly, his gaze drifting to the ground. "I don't know what the future holds, Lena. But maybe, just maybe, we can start by being honest with each other. No more lies. No more secrets. We'll figure out what happens next. Together. But you have to let go of the past too. We both do." I nodded, my throat tight with emotion. "I will. I promise." The weeks that followed weren't easy. It wasn't a quick fix. Alex and I spoke often, but the conversations were tentative, slow. We were learning to trust each other again, and it was a long road. But slowly, things began to shift. We both realized that love wasn't just about passion and connection. It was about understanding, compromise, and healing. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for redemption. A chance for us to rebuild what had been broken. It was hard, but it was worth it. As the days passed, Alex and I found our way back to each other, not as the people we were before, but as new versions of ourselves. Wiser, more understanding, and more grateful for the second chance we had been given. Maybe love wasn't about perfection. Maybe it was about growth. And now, as I walked beside him, hand in hand, I knew we had a long road ahead of us, but we weren't walking it alone. The end.